Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the VR settings I use, as well as the force feedback settings I use for Automobilista 2. These are settings I have found to give me the best, well, for VR at least, the best balance between, decent looks along with good performance. Like anything, it is all kind of up to the personal preference of everyone, especially force feedback. Not everyone likes the same feel or anything like that. But same with VR, there's nowadays so many settings. You can prefer higher frame rates or higher graphics, and within there, certain settings and everything that some people may like better than others. So really all this is what I use. You can use it as a jumping off point to play around with your settings and find something you like. And by all means, do you have any suggestions or tips or anything else that you think I should try out? Please post them in the comments. I'm always looking to try new things, see if I can get improved feel with the force feedback or improved performance through VR. So please, by all means, throw any of your tips, your settings, anything you do in the comments, and I'll take a look, and it'll be there for everyone else to take a look as well. So let's get started, and I'll look at the VR settings first. I will back out of this, and we'll look at the settings outside the sim, and then we'll pop back in to see what I have it set at inside the sim. Alright, so taking a look here first at the Oculus app, where we now have some settings we adjust. Gone are the days of the CV1 where pretty much you just plugged it in and adjusted everything inside the sim. Now we have other settings to worry about first. And I will say now, before I show these, and the same goes with force feedback. Anything outside the sim itself, I try to find a decent balance that will work for all my sims. I may be leaving some performance here or some, finer fidelity and force feedback there, but to me, I like to be able to set things and then not have to worry every time I jump on, depending on the sim I'm playing, going in, making all these different changes. So I do try to get kind of a baseline uh, balance settings that work for everything and then keep it there. So for right now, since the version 23 update's been out, I've been playing around with it, and I've found for me the 80 hertz at 1.1x render resolution has been giving me the best balance between performance along with graphical fidelity. Uh, Bumping up the render resolution a little bit just makes things that much little bit clearer when playing. Well, I'd love to do 90 hertz even at the default 1.0 at 90 hertz. I have trouble running it, and I should say my PC is a Ryzen 3600 with an RTX 2070. But I still struggle to really nail down a solid 90 in a lot of things, even at a 1.0. And it's dropping down to ASW quite often. So I found 80 hertz gave me a decent baseline where much noticeably better than the regular 70 hertz everyone's used to with the Quest, or I should say, sorry, 72 hertz that everyone's used to with the Quest. So it does give you that upgrade, but I'm able to maintain it in most sims. I will not say all. There's certain sims that I just have to go to ASW no matter what, but others where I can nail this 80 hertz and stick to it. So that's where I go with that. Now, the other thing outside the sim for AMS2 is the sharpness settings. This is not in the menu in game, so you've got to come to your documents, Automobilista 2 folder, and then your graphics config Oculus DX11. I'm not sure if you play this with a Vive or any OpenVR setup. I believe you get this similar file and it'll just say OpenVR or something similar to that instead of Oculus. But again, I use Oculus, so this is what I've got. This one, you're just going to open it with Notepad, and you're going to go all the way down to the bottom. So the main three here are these bottom three. Sorry, these three here. The one that really does anything is sharpening strength. The sharpening clamp and offset bias, to tell you the truth, I really don't know what they do. I have taken some suggested settings from others. I've put them in. The one that I've tinkered around with is sharpening strength. I believe this maxes out at a 2.9. So if you wanted to, you could go 2.9. However, I keep it at a 0.7. This really did make a big difference for me in just clearing up the image, making it look more clear, less blurry. And the higher you go, the sharper it gets, which in theory sounds great, but it also will introduce, or not so much introduce because it's there anyways, but kind of make the shimmering effect that you get a lot with VR. It'll make that a lot worse. I've found 0.7 was about as high as I personally wanted to go with it. The shimmering really bothers me. Depending on your tolerance with the shimmering and all that, you may put this higher. For me, I go 0.7, but by all means play around with that, see where you're comfortable with it. This game, definitely you're never going to get rid of all the shimmering in this sim. It is an issue, especially the aliasing and the resolution on shadows is real bad. There is nothing I've been able to try to do has fixed that. But at the same time, I'm trying to limit how much worse I make it, so I leave it at 0.7. Again, try it out, try different numbers, see where you're good with it, and go from there. So that pretty much is everything for VR settings outside the sim. So let's jump back in now and take a look at my settings inside the sim. Alright, so here we are in the game menus. First we will take a look at performance. Here at the top you'll see I've got 1920 by 1080 by 60 Hertz, windowed. Really, these are just for what's going to be showing on your monitor, not really affect your VR at all. Texture resolution I've got on high. I believe that has more to do with your video memory than anything. Texture filtering at 4x, VSync off, MSAA on medium. This one is a big hit to your system, so if you got a system with less power than mine, you may want to turn this one down. If you've got more power, you may get away with turning it up. This one I've stuck with medium because from all accounts the difference between medium and high is not all that much different, and like I was talking earlier about the shimmering, this one does make a decent difference to that. Between having a medium and low. With low, you definitely see a lot more shimmering going on. So I've got it on medium. As long as you've got that on, this post AA is grayed out. Super sampling is in the VR menu, though I leave it at default. I don't personally run any super sampling. Again, that's up to you and your system. You may be able to get away with running a bunch of that. However, once I start turning it up, I start dipping down in the ASW a lot more often, so I leave it off. Reflections I've got on medium, environment map medium, car detail medium, track detail medium. Pit crew detail player only. It's one of those things, not a big deal if you see pit crews or not. Shadow detail medium. You could turn it down. This game really does have issues with the shadows though. I also like to keep on medium because of the other cars on track. I really don't like it when there's no real shadows under the cars because they just kind of look like they're floating around and just takes me out of the game. It's just one of those little things that me personally really bugs me. You may not care, and if not, turn it down because this is another one of the settings that's a big hit on performance. Enhance mirror, keep it off. Motion blur, I keep off. Render frames ahead at 1. Detail grass low. I'll do that for all my sims when playing in VR because it's really not that big of a deal. Particle level medium and particle density at low. So other menus here that have some stuff that you may want to or not. Under the visuals menu here, a lot of this is kind of personal preference. Some of it may affect VR slightly, performance wise, but a lot of this is your personal preference. If you want to turn it off or not. Some of it definitely does have a little hit, like bloom, heat, haze, and stuff like that, so I keep them off. And then the last menu is the virtual reality menu, where it's mostly control stuff, though that's where you find your super sampling. Again, I leave mine at 1.0, and that's just for me with my system. If you have a more powerful system than I, you can probably get away with turning that up a bit. And that's it pretty much for my settings here. Again, I run at 80 frames a second. With these settings, I generally, whether in practice or in a race, just stay at a rock solid 80 frames a second. Times that changes is if I race at night or in the rain, which I just never do, so I don't worry about it. But if that's the kind of stuff, races you want to do, you are likely going to have to turn these settings down a little bit here and there. Nighttime, these settings, once a race spreads out a bit, I will still maintain 80 frames a second, but definitely once there's a bunch of cars grouped up, it starts dipping down, and of course the rain has a fairly large hit on the performance as well. So keep that in mind if those are the kind of races you like to do with weather and at night. You're definitely going to have to probably turn these down, assuming you're running similar specs as myself. If you're running much higher specs, then you probably don't got to worry about it. But that's it for my VR settings. So I'm going to back out of the sim again, and we will take a look at what I've got set up for my force feedback settings. Alright, so back now looking at the force feedback settings. I'll make this one a little bit quicker here. So in the Thrustmaster control panel, you can see I've got up here, I typically don't touch these settings. I've got them set to what they are now. 75% in the overall forces, 100 in both constant periodic, 0 in spring and damper. I try not to go in and mess with this much. I like the VR stuff. Anything outside the game, I like to set something that gives me a balance across all sims, so I'm not constantly having to go back and change it every time I decide to play something different. So that's what I put in here. I typically don't change that. At most, if it's an older sim, or something like F1 that won't automatically change the wheel rotation in game. I might have to come in here and change it there, but most sims nowadays do it that automatically, so I typically don't have to touch that even outside of the absolute rare occasions. Now, inside the game, I am using default. I have tried some of the custom profiles that are out there. I didn't like. I wasn't huge on a lot of them. I found in the end going to default and just changing some of the settings in here gave me a better feeling that I liked. But again, force feedback's one of those things where you're never going to get everyone to agree on one setting is absolutely best. Everyone likes different feeling from their force feedback. So again, take my settings here as a jumping off point if you're struggling to find something, and tweak it how you want. Again, if you have other options or other tips that you use, by all means put it in the comments for myself and others to take a look at. But here I put gain at 63, low force boost at 40, FX at 50. I know some people turn that down. I do like, I believe everything through FX is kind of the canned effects, but I like to get a little bit of road feeling just from the road. Like, I know it's canned, but it at least helps immerse you a bit. I find one of the things that take me out of a sim pretty quick is when you're just driving on a straightaway and it's just perfectly smooth. You don't feel anything to the wheel, not even a little bit of rumble or anything. So I leave that at 50 to give me that little bit of feeling. Damping at 3. Then menu spring strength I've got at 40, but ultimately that doesn't matter that much when it comes to actual gameplay. That's whatever you want to do with it. And for this game, that's it. When it comes to force feedback, it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. Not quite as complicated as some other sims may get with it. But for now, I've found this is giving me decent force feedback. I'm enjoying it. I don't think by any means it's perfect or anything. So again, please leave your suggestions in the comments. I'll continue to try other things out. But that will do it for this video. I'm gonna do some more videos like this for some other games out there. So keep an eye out for those, and I'll see you on the next video.